Well, Boker Tov and Shana Tova to all of you. It's a delight to see you all back here again this morning. I'd like to welcome you all to this auditorium where all of us are gathering to create a holy space for us to celebrate and ponder the year 5780, the Jewish New Year. For those of you who were not here last night, I am Rabbi Lynn Goldsmith, and I enjoy coming to Fort Collins once a month, although this month and next month is more than once a month. Student Rabbi Scott Goldberg also visits once a month, but his commute from the Los Angeles campus of Hebrew Union College is a whole lot longer than mine. We also have Natalie Fields, who is not only a longtime member of Rosh and a song leader, and leads services, but she's currently enrolled in the Rabbinical Academy, Mesivta Adat Wolkowitz. Thank you. What she said.
I know.
To become a rabbi. So today, as we worship together in the quiet spaces, try to listen to the voice inside of you and listen to what it has to say. I'll ask you all to please turn to page 112 for the blessings for study. I will do them in Hebrew, and then I'll ask you to follow in English. And if you know the Hebrew, please follow along with me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, supreme power of the universe. You sanctify our lives with mitzvot, and give us the sacred obligation of learning and living Torah. V'ha'arev na Adonai Eloheinu, et divrei Toratcha bepinu, ofi amka beit Israel, v'nechiyeh anachnu, v'tzeh etze'enu, v'tzeh etze'e amka beit Israel, kulana yodea shemecha, v'lomdei Toratcha lishma. Our God, eternal, let us taste the sweetness of your Torah's words, and let them be a pleasure to your people, the house of Israel, so that we, our children, and all generations of Israel to come, shall know your name and study your Torah for its own sake. Baruch atah Adonai, hanei Torah la'amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, who instructs your people Israel in the ways of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan manu et Torato. Blessed are you, Adonai our God. In your sovereignty you chose us to bring the gift of Torah into the world. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'Torah, Blessed are you, Adonai, the giver of Torah. And I'll ask you all to please turn to page 119.
Why does Rosh Hashana precede Yom Kippur? No sooner do we mark the new year than we begin repenting for our sins. Surely the logical sequence would be the reverse. We should repent and then usher in the new year with a clean slate. Rosh Hashanah is a day we celebrate the world. We appreciate the beauty, the wonder, and the miraculousness of life. That appreciation is critical, for only when we understand how splendid yet fragile is God's world can we begin to repent for having damaged or neglected it. All tikkun, all reparation begins in appreciation. We heal relationships because we understand their value. We seek to restore the imbalances in the natural world because its native pageantry dazzles our eyes. Yom Kippur is the outcome of our Rosh Hashanah vision. Surrounded by possibility, we need to heal what we have hurt or nurture the untended patches of God's garden. Seeing the cracks in creation, we acknowledge our obligation to fill them. First comes gratitude, then regret, then restoration.
And on the next page, in the middle of the page, we read together, Blessed are you, Holy One, who has formed the human body with wisdom, an intricate network of channels, vessels, and openings. This wondrous structure and flow of life within us allows us to serve you and give thanks. Let us cherish this gift of flesh and blood and honor it as God's creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei kol basar, u'mahali ma'asot. And ask you all, we praise you, Holy One, for wondrous acts of creation and healing. And we turn to page 122. And I'll ask you to please turn to page 127. Why? Who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan, or dart my sight over the roofs of houses toward the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or stand under trees in the woods, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love, or sit at the table at dinner with my mother, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car, or watch honeybees busy around the hive of an August forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or birds, or the wonderfulness of insects in the air, or the wonderfulness of the sundown, or of the stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in May. These, with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles. To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every inch of space is a miracle. Every spear of brass, the frames, limbs, organs of men and women, all that concerns them, all these to me are unspeakably perfect miracles. And now we'll please turn to page 135. Hallelujah, 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 And we turn to page 136, and we'll read responsively. Blessed are we, blessed our gathering, as we open our hearts to the voice of the shofar.
Happy are we who hear its call to return, the sacred trumpet of the shofar.
Blessed are we, held close by the ancient sound that echoes Lador Vador, from generation to generation.
Happy are we, rising to the joyful cry of the new year.
Blessed are we who hear in these blasts of sound the voice of community.
Happy are we who know its embrace, its season of celebration, its quest for connection and purpose.
Holy is this gift of community, and blessed is the act of belonging. In the middle of page 137, let's read the blessing in Hebrew. Hear, O Israel, the divine abounds everywhere and dwells in everything. Its bases are infinite, its source is all, and many are one. Tikiya. Shabarim Teruah. Tikiya. Together. Blessed is the soul-reaching sound of the shofar. It proclaims the purpose of this day. Blessed is community, source of joy, solace, and strength to every living soul. And then we please turn to page 140. Thank you very much, Alana. Page 140. Please join me in the Hebrew, if you know it, and definitely in the English. Baruch atah Adonai, el melech gadol v'tishbachot, el ha-hadarot, Adon ha-nitlaot, ha-boher tishrei zimra, melech el chai, ha-olamim. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign of praise, source of the impulse to give thanks, crown 141. Yitkazav yitkadesh shebeva yamadiva kivute yamdiv machute lechaye konu yomechon uvachaye techo bet Yisrael Bagala Ulizman Kari Inamu Ane Yehesheva Vamerora Lialamu Me'amaya Yitzvah Yitzvah Yishabah Yitzvah Yisrael Yitnaseh Yitzhakar Yitzhabeh Yitzhalash Medikulisha Rimu Levahu Levami Kovechata B'shirata Tuvush Mechata Lenechemata Tamiran V'yahana V'meru
Before we enter into the Baruch Hu, on page 142, I just want us to take note of how the music is a bit different today on Rosh Hashana as it is normally during the year, especially for the Chatzi Kaddish, which we just sang, and also for the Baruch Hu and some other upcoming songs, that the modes of the music are different, and it reminds us that this day is rather special, and it's just something to think about. So we'll rise as we are able for the Baruch Hu, on page 142. On page 142 at the bottom, and it actually goes on to page 144, we'll sing our prayer Yotzer Or, which reminds us that the days keep on turning and that we should be grateful for the morning that we have this morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or borei Moshe Oseh shalom shalom borei hakol. Yotzer or borei Moshe Oseh shalom shalom borei hakol. Source of blessings, our eternal God, your power fills the cosmos, shaping light, creating darkness, making peace and fashioning all things. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Lights from the darkness, said God, and it was so. On page 144. Or Hadash Shal Zion Tzahir V'nizkechu Lan Me'era Le'or. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. On page 145, 146, I'd like to call up Pam Levine for a reading.
Love abundant, love unstinting, our God, you have enfolded us in love. Tender compassion beyond all bounds, your precious gift. Our fathers and mothers gave you their trust, and you gave them Torah, laws by which to live. For their sake, teach us as well, grace us with your guidance. Loving Father, merciful Mother of us all, grant us clear understanding that we may listen, learn, and teach. Preserve, practice, and fulfill with love every lesson of your Torah. May learning your Torah light up our eyes. May our hearts embrace your mitzvot. Unite us in love and reverence for you, that we may never feel ashamed of our deeds.
On page 148, at the bottom of the page, in Hebrew and in English, Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Our praise to you, Adonai, you have singled out your people Israel with love. On page 150, the Shema. We'll rise as we are able. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shekevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 152.
Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem be'eretz Mitzrayim v'yot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem. On page 161, I would like to call up Bruce Goldberg for a reading. Father, please be seated.
The beginning of your word is truth. If you exist at all, I know you can't abide hypocrisy. And most of all, you don't want prayers that lie. You'd rather get an honest fight than strings of empty platitudes. So I can't pretend or hide in pious phrases given to me by the past. It's hard to speak my own imperfect truth. In fact, the more I say, the less I seem to know. And the farther away I get from you, whatever you might be. I've heard that what you really want is not more words. You want the heart. That might be more than I can give, but I can sure try.
Page 164. Yichamocha ba'elim Adonai, Yichamocha le'torah לשמחה על שפת הענק, יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדרך יוממה יבוז עמך ישראל. לא עלינו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, God Israel.
We are about to enter into one of the most important parts of our prayer service, the Amidah, the standing prayer. It's named the standing prayer because, well, we stand. As we introduced last night, I will sing the Avot in the High Holy Day melody, but Natalie will lead us in the more well-known melodies of the rest of the Amidah. In the middle of the Amidah, for the high holidays, for this very special day, we have the very well-known Unatan Tokef prayer. And this makes the Amidah very different from other days. This prayer is haunting and is theologically troubling because it portrays God as a puppeteer on high who's deciding our fate for the coming year based on our behavior over the next 10 days. Many of us don't resonate with this theology. Maybe it will help a little if we think of the fragility of life, the phone call, the accident, the illness, or even the good fortune that changes us forever. Maybe we can think not that God is causing this change, but more that it happened, and asking God for help in responding to these events in our lives. I'd also want to add that during this section and some of the others, we are going to be standing for longer periods of time. If you're uncomfortable with standing, please just stay seated. And if you get tired, please sit. As I said last night, no one is going to judge you. So with that being said, if you're able, please stand. And we're on page 166. Adonai, separatita, uvia, ita, imatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor Ha'nawar 174.
Let's read together in the English. And so let these words of sanctity ascend to you, for you are our God and Father. Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human man leaves his heart, an imprint like no other.
On page 178. The Rosh Hashana yikatemun, uveyon tzom kippur yechatemun. The Rosh Hashana yikatemun, uveyon tzom kippur yechatemun. Kama yaboru, v'chama yibareu. Mi chie umi amu, mi v'kitzo umi lo v'kitzo. Berosh Hashana yikatemun, u'biyom tzom kippur yechatemun. Berosh Hashana yikatemun, u'biyom tzom kippur yechatemun. Mi va'esh u'mi va'mayim, mi va'cherev u'mi va'chayav, mi va'rav u'mi va'tzama. Berosh Hashana yikatemun, u'biyom tzom kippur yechatemun. Berosh Hashana yikatemun, u'biyom tzom kippur yechatemun. Mi va'rash u'mi va'magefa, mi va'chanika u'mi va'skila. Berosh Hashana yikatemun, u'biyom tzom kippur yechatemun. Berosh Hashana yikatemun, u'biyom tzom kippur yechatemun. Mi yanua u'mi yanua, mi shaket u'mi tara, mi shalev u'mi tyasar, mi ani u'mi asher, mi
on the next page, we'll read responsibly. On Rosh Hashana, we plunge like swimmers. It's 179, I'm sorry. And that's the next page. On Rosh Hashanah, we plunge like swimmers into a sea of words. On Yom Kippur, the sea rises, then crests, and we emerge, sealed by the wax,
warmed by the fire of the radiant candle.
The new year is like a trailhead, opening wide before us. The day of fasting, narrow and breathless, so quick to close.
We contemplate a new year, and this we know.
Some of us will live, and some of us will die. Some will die young, and some very old. Some by water, and some by fire. Some by sword, and some by beast. Some by hunger, some by thirst. Some by plague, and some by earthquake. Some by stoning, and some by strangling.
Some of us will feel at ease, some will be restless. Some will have peace of mind, some will have strife. Some will be tranquil, some will be tormented. Some will be raised high, some will be brought low. Some will have riches, some will be impoverished.
Even so, the way we act,
The way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and others, these things have great power to make our lives matter.
therefore, let us make whole the broken shards.
Green and thick the withering grass.
Let the wind fill us with urgency for life. Let dreams give birth to justice and goodness.
God of holiness, God of hope, let us push your truth as we attach our hope to yours.
On page 180. Uteshuva, utefila, utzedaka, ma'avirin et roh hagzera. English on the top of the page. But through return to the right path,
Through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree.
And we turn to page 184.
V'kadesh et shemcha ba'olam, kashem shemam tishim bo'otov v'shmemaro, kakatuv lo yom v'yechodo, v'karazeh elzeh be'amor, kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Elohim ha'oretz, kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol ha'aretz, Baruch kevod Adonai Mikol. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshiach, Zehu Yashirenu, Ve'achamav Le'nei Kol Chai. Amani Adonai Elohechem, Imloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Tzion, Ledor Ador, Hallelujah. Ledor Ador, Ledor Ador, Ledor Ador, Na'anikan Lecha. Ledor Ador, Ledor Ador, Ledor Ador, Na'anikan Lecha. U'beletzot netzachim, kedushat ze'chanatish, kedushat ze'chanatish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mi'pilu lo yamush, lo yamush le'olam va'ed. Ledor Ador, Ledor Ador, Na'anikan Lecha. Ledor Ador, Na'anikan Lecha. Ki
You may be seated for at least a minute, and I'd like to call Michael Harris.
Page 200.
Page 200.
Accepting your sovereignty. We are stiff-necked and stubborn. Teach us to bend before you. Convinced we're right, entrenched in our own perspective, we resist your call to repent. Convinced we're self-sufficient, entrenched in the illusion of control, we resist your call to humility. Convinced we can have it all, entrenched in the dream of mastering the world, we resist your call to wake up. Today you summon us out of our ignorance, out of rigidity, fantasy, shallowness, self-deception. Teach us to bend our knees, to bow our heads before the mystery, to realize our frailty and our fortitude, finitude. Teach us to make you melech, sovereign in our life, to align ourselves with your goodness and truth. We would not bow before Pharaoh. We would not bow before the Persian lord. We would not submit to any power on earth or give ourselves to any material thing. But we, the Jewish people, stiff-necked, stubborn to the end, today we bow before you.
We'll turn to page 202, and I'll ask you to rise again. You may be seated. We're on page 206. 206. We read together the blessing in the middle in English. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, summoning us to hear the sound of the shofar. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time. Tikiya, Shevarim Teruah, Tikiya, Tikiya, Shevarim, Tikiya, Tikiya, Teruah, Tikiya.
Ram Venisa. Aresh Sefatenu Yerav Lefanacha El Ram Venisa. Meirilu Mazin Maviru Makshiv B'Kol Tikiyatenu. Tkavel Rachamim Rachamim Ubratzam Seder Seder Malchuyotenu.
Let the wishes of our lips, our heart's desire, be pleasing before you, God Most High. You are knowing and attentive, watchful and aware when we call out, Tikiyah. Lovingly, flavorably, receive our prayers of Malchuyot. I invite you to read silently pages 186 through 197. And I do want to say a word. This is a lot of text to read. There probably won't be any time for you to read every single bit of it, even if you've taken Evelyn Wood's speeding class. So what I would really like for you to do, as you go through this, find one that really speaks to you. Read the reading and think very seriously about it. Like I said, 186 through 197. Please turn to page 220.
Shalom, shalom imroma, uyaseh shalom. Oh, say shalom, shalom imroma, uyaseh shalom, uyaseh shalom, uyaseh shalom. Hallelujah, for Israel,
before we enter into the Avinu Malkeinu portion of our service, I want to offer some words. 100 generations have stood before this ark, and they lifted up their voices like a flame, on the altar. And they put their trust in kindness and justice, and they gave their strength to make the promise real. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we are reminded of absolute power matched alongside with loving kindness. These are the attributes that we hope to embody as we start our new year. On page 223, we'll begin by chanting together, and then we'll read responsively, first in Hebrew and then in English. We'll rise together as we're able. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Ve'al Olalenu V'Tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu Kalei Dever V'Cherev V'Ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, all the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu Kalei Kol Tsar Umashtin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, all of the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu Kotzbenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Hadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us with the year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Ki banu masi. Asay manu. Tzedaka v'chesed. Asay manu. Tzedaka v'chesed. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Ki banu masi.
I'd like to invite Judy Warren up for a reading to close off this Avinu Malkeinu section.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, loving Father, infinite power, gentle, forgiving, lofty, inscrutable. Avinu Malkeinu, compassionate Mother, omnipotent Lord, comforting presence, fathomless mystery. Avinu Malkeinu, our rock and redeemer, life of the universe. Close to us always, impossibly far. Avinu Malkeinu. Embracing, confounding, accepting our frailty, decreeing our end. Avinu Malkeinu. None of those are true. None of them are you. Yet we stand as though those before us have stood, summoned by judgment, longing for love. Avinu Malkeinu. May these words be a bridge. They come from our hearts. May they lead us to you.
Please be seated. We're transitioning to a new section of our service. This is the Seder Kriyat HaTorah, or the order of the service where we read from the Torah. So on page 226, I want to offer a reading that I think will help frame this Torah service and how it's a bit different from other Torah services that we do, maybe during the week or maybe during Shabbat. Bringing the Torah into our midst. When first we appeared on the stage of world history, a book was in our hands. This book, this sacred scroll. And we were told, this is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart. And we were told, you can surely do it. And then we learned, this is where heaven and earth touch. So as we bring Torah into our midst, I'd like us to hold that thought, that this is where heaven and earth touch. I would like to invite up Matt Rosing to help bring Torah into our midst, and we'll rise as we are able.
Adonai,
Today, for our Torah reading, we'll read the infamous story of Abraham's trek toward the summit of Mount Moriah. In order to reaffirm his identity and his own relationship with God, Abraham is asked by God to sacrifice his son, Isaac. The Akedah, as it's called, or the binding of Isaac, summons us, actually, to think deeply about our own relationships in our lives and our relationship with God as conflicting. So I'd like us to hold that in our heads as we go forth with the Torah service. Our Rosh Hashana Torah reading can be found on page 240. We'll be reading from Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 through 14. For our first Aliyah this morning, I'd like to call up Kim Migdal, and our first Torah reader will be Rabbi Lynn Goldsmith.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bar karbanu mikol ha'amin, v'kanan lanu et ha'torah, Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah. Amen.
Vayahi achar hadabarim ha'ela v'ha'elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer Elah Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer kachna et pincha et Yahidka asher achavta et Yitzhak velech lecha el eretz haMoriah v'ha'alehu sham le'olah al achad heharim asher omar elecha vayashkem Avraham baboker Vayachavosh et chamoraho, vayikach et shnei ne'aro itaho, va'et Yitzhak benaho, vayvacha et zei olah, vayachom vayelech el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'kayei olam nata b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Our second Torah reading will be from Renee Cohn-Jones, and our second Aliyah will be from Dan Elliott.
Baruch at Adonai Havorach. Baruch Adonai Havorach Le'olam Ve'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barucha banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. Vayom hashlishi vayisar Avraham et einav ve'aretz hamakom merachok vayomer Avraham el ha'arav shevu lachem pa im hachamor ve'ani v'chanar yelcha atcho v'nafshecha
אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
And our third aliyah, I'd like to call up Judy Seville.
Baruch atah Adonai Hambara.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Hambara Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Vayavo el hamakom asher amar lo Elohim vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach vayaroch et haitzim vayakod et Yitzchak beno vayasem oto al hamizbeach mimal la'itzim. וישלח אברהם את ידו ויקח את המחלת לשחוט את בנו ויקרא אליו מלאך אדוני מן השמיים ויאמר אברהם אברהם ויאמר הנני ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנער ואל תעש לו מאומה כי אתה ידעתי כי הרי אלוהים אתה ולא חסכת את בנך את יחידך ממני ויישא אברהם את עיניו וירא והנה איל אחר נאחז בסבך בקרניו וילך אברהם ויקח את העיל ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני יראה אשר יאמר היום בהר אדוני ייראה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
So while we have the Torah out in our midst, it's said that the earth and the heaven are just one step even further connected. So I'd like to take this time to enter into the space where we think of those who are in need of healing of the body or the mind or the spirit. So if you're thinking of someone on this Rosh Hashana morning who might be in need of healing, I invite you to share their name either out loud or in your heart as my eyes meet yours.
Mayor Berachon, Esther Baruch.
Debbie Kravitz. Jim Ray.
Acadia Hale, Colton McNulty.
Mary Gray. Harlan Webb.
question?
We take all of those names, both said out loud and in our hearts, and we'll turn to page 245 for the Mishaberach L'Cholim. Mishaberach
Source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, mekor bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I now have the honor to welcome up Natalie Fields to provide some words about the upcoming Haftorah portion that we'll be chanting.
Well, we usually have a Devar Torah, not a Devar Haftorah, but Hannah is a very, very interesting story, and that is the Haftorah that we read on Rosh Hashana. And last night, when Rabbi Scott gave his sermon, he talked about, and I have the first two, but I don't have the last one. It's read up, show up, and speak up. Okay. So it reminded me of the story of Hannah and what I'm going to talk about today. She didn't do the read up part, but she did the show up and the speak up part. And as it ties in very well with the high holidays and thinking about the coming year and how we will all try to change and do better with our standing up for what we believe in. Through the eternal, my heart knows joy. Through the eternal, my horn is raised. My mouth opens wide against my foes, for I exult in your deliverance. These are the first lines of Hannah's prayer that ends our Haftorah for today, the day of Rosh Hashana. But why is she praying such a fervent prayer of thanksgiving when she has just dedicated and given her only son, Samuel, at a very young age, into the service of God and the priests? Well, she had been given two gifts. The most wonderful one was being able to bear a child, a son, in the first place. And the second one was to have been able to be with him in their home until he was at least a few years old. And Hannah didn't just accept these gifts. She played an active role in making them happen, and she put herself out there. To understand how, we have to go back to the beginning of the story. Hannah was married to Elkanah, who also had another wife named Peninnah. Peninnah had children with Elkanah, but Hannah had no children. When the family went every year to Shiloh to worship God and make offerings to God, Elkanah gave a special portion of the offerings to Hannah because he loved her and felt bad that she had no children. In those days, if a woman wasn't able to have children, she was really pitied and thought of as a lesser woman. Peninnah, who had children but knew that her husbands loved Hannah best, would taunt and tease Hannah very cruelly every time they went up to Shiloh. So much so that Hannah couldn't eat and would cry inconsolably. Her husband would say to her, "Hannah, why are you crying and why can't you eat? Aren't I worth more to you than 10 sons?" But Hannah was still inconsolable. And this went on year after year until one year Hannah went off by herself near the entrance to the temple and started praying, weeping and crying so much that she could not really talk. She only moved her lips in prayer. She fervently prayed to God that she would have a son, and if she did, she would dedicate him to God for life. Eli, the priest of the temple at Shiloh, saw Hannah and heard her crying. and because her lips were moving, but she spoke no words out loud, he thought she was drunk. He came over to her and chastised her for being drunk in the temple. Hannah answered Eli and told him that she hadn't had any wine or spirits, but that she had been pouring out her soul to God, speaking from the depth of her anger and great pain she felt. Eli softened and told Hannah to go in peace, and may God grant her request. Hannah felt much better after this and was able to eat, and she looked better as well. She had stepped out of the box and probably done something people didn't do so much then. She had created her own time with God at the temple, outside of the set rituals and sacrifices that were the norm, and were the norm for men, not women. So our story continues as the family returns home, and Hannah does become pregnant with Samuel, whose name roughly means from God. When the entire family next went on their annual trek to Shiloh, Hannah told her husband she would not be going with her child, that they would remain at home until Samuel was weaned. Then she would bring him to God, where he would stay for the rest of his life. Notice she didn't ask Elkanah, she told him. When Samuel was weaned, Hannah went back to Shiloh with Samuel and a bull, flour and wine to sacrifice. She brought the boy to Eli, told him what had happened, and reminded him who she was. She told Eli what it was that she had prayed for, and that as long as Samuel lived, he would remain dedicated to God. So now we come back to where we began, the prayer that Hannah prays after dedicating her son to God, perhaps with a better understanding of how she could praise God so lavishly after giving up her only son. Hannah stepped outside the mores of her time in more ways than one. She was a strong woman who finally found her voice and spoke her piece. Her son was to become one of the most famous and pivotal figures in Jewish history, and her passionate silent prayer in the temple of Shiloh actually became the model the rabbis used to create the guidelines for how we still pray the Amidah today, silently, but with our lips mouthing the words of our fervent prayer.
Thank you, Natalie, for those words. So I think that was a really wonderful way to frame our Haftorah reading about prayer and how to think about prayer. Our Haftorah portion this morning will be 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. It will be found on page 250. The blessing before the Haftorah will be on 247, and the blessing after will be on 258. So you might need to jump around a bit, but it will keep you spry, I promise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'milim tovim v'ratzah b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'b'moshe abdo Israel amo, u'nbi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. On page 250. Vayehi ish echad min ha'amatayim, tzofim mehar Ephraim, u'shmo Elkanah ben Yeroham ben Elihu ben Teho ben Suf Ephrati velo shtei nashim shem ahat Hana v'shem hashenit Penina Vayehi lifnina yiladim, ulchana ein yiladim. V'Allah ha'ish hahu me'iro מימים ימימה ימימה להשתחוות ולזבוח לאדוני צבאות בשלו ושם ושני בני אלי חופני ופנחס כהנים לאדוני ויהי היום ויזבח אלקנה ונתן לפנינה אשתו לכל בניה ובנותיה מנות ולחנה ייתן מנה אחת אפיים כי את חנה אהב ואדוני סגר רחמה וכי עשת צרת גם כעס בעבור הרעימה כי סגר אדוני בעד רחמה וכן יעשה שנה ושנה מדי עלותה בבית אדוני כן תכעיסנה ותבכה ולא תאכל ויאמר לה אלקנה אישה חנה למה תבכי ולמה לא תאכלי ולמה ירא לבבך הלא אנוכי טוב לך מעשרה בנים ותקום חנה אחרי אכלה בשילה ואחרי שתו ואלי הכהן יושב על הכיסא על מזוזת היכל אדוני והיא מרת נפש ותתפלא על אדוני ובכה תבכה. On page 258. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, דבר אחד מדבריך, אחור לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. On page 261. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום הזיכרון הזה שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לכבוד ותפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון. On page 267, we'll introduce the second of our 3 shofar services. In the middle of the page, we'll read together. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us to tame them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, here I am. Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is the throne where all things matter, and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai, Zocher HaBrit. Blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us. I'd like to invite up Alana Jones to blow our second shofar on page 268. Tekiah, Shivarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shivarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. On page 269 at the bottom, Reshet Sifateinu Yerav Lefanecha El Ram V'Nisa. Reshet Sifateinu Yerav Lefanecha El Ram V'Nisa. Me'ivinu Mazin Ma'avidu Makshiv L'Kol Tekiyatenu. U'tekabel Barachamim Barachamim Uvratzon Seder Seder Zichronotenu. Thank you, Alana. A prayer for our country can be found on page 272. The last 2 paragraphs I think are particularly compelling. We pray for all who serve our country with selfless devotion, in peace and in war, from fields of battle to clinics and classrooms, from government to the grassroots, all those whose noble deeds and sacrifice benefit our nation and our world. We are grateful for the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that our founders ascribed to you, our Creator. We pray for their wisdom and moral strength, that we may be guardians of these rights for ourselves and for the sake of our people, now and forever. On page 274, in English, we'll offer a prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu, you who are high above all nation states and peoples, Rock of Israel, the one who has saved us and preserved us in life. Bless the state of Israel, first flowering of our redemption. Be your loving shield, a shelter of lasting peace. Guide your leaders and advisors by your light of truth. Instruct them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who build and protect our holy land. Deliver them from danger, crown their efforts with success. Grant peace to the land, lasting joy to all of your people. And together we say, Amen. I'd like to invite up Pat Harris as we lift the Torah high for all to see. Not only do we bless with it and we learn from it, but we also recognize that we are all here together with the Torah. So on page 276, we will return the Torah to the ark. We'll rise as we are able.
Bezot HaTorah Asher Sham Hashem Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Elohi Adonai Li'ad Moshe. Torah Siva Lanu Moshe. Torah Siva Lanu Moshe. Torah Torah, 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 Tziva Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva Lanu Moshe. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Yitzhak, Shem Alevato, Oto Amen, Veshamayim, Vayomer Keren Minamo, Tzila Lecho, Hasidam, Yifnei Yisrael, Amkero, Hallelujah.
Please be seated. Our third shofar section of the service can be found on page 279. For here, this shofar out is a prayer for righteous anger, and we'll read together. Misery for breakfast, morning coffee with the news of distant deaths, because someone's always suffering, and there's bound to be a crisis raging somewhere, or a quieter catastrophe, barely at the threshold of our notice. We're accustomed to the feeling of something going wrong, like static in the background, turning out so that we can get on with our day. And it's just the same as yesterday. Nothing can be done, so there's so much point in getting too upset. But if something were to shock us, like a baby's piercing wail, or a fire bell in the night, like a punch in the stomach, or a puncture in the eardrum, like a savage call to conscience, or a frantic cry for help, we would scream like a shofar and get mad enough to act. When a ram's horn is sounded in the city, do the people not take alarm? I'd like to call up Alana Jones for our third call for the shofar. On page 284. Tekiah, Shivarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shivarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah. We'll rise as we are able for the Tekiah Gedolah. Tekiah Gedolah. On page 285, Rosh Sefatenu Yerav Lefanecha Eoram Benisa. Rosh Sefatenu Yerav Lefanecha Eoram Benisa. Me'vinu ma'azin ma'avinu mashkiv lekol tekiyatenu. U'tekabel baracham Rachamim, Barachamim, Uvratzon, Seder, Seder, Shofaroteinu. Please be seated. Another Yasher Koach. Wonderful job to Alana. There's a reason why I'm not doing that. Are there any announcements? Matt,
Yes, as you all
do you
know,
want to come up?
As you all know, next week, after we have Yom Kippur and the closing service, there's a break the fast. And I've heard from many of you that you have signed up, RSVP, paid, but I have not heard from many others. And so I have some forms out to make it easy for you on the tables today at our oneg. The oneg is going to be as amazing as last night because we have so much food and so many of you to enjoy it. So take a chance, sign up, and hand it to me, and I'll be very happy to give you any information you need about it. Thank you.
But wait, there's more. As many of you know, Fort Kadash does an annual memorial book for our service on the afternoon of Yom Kippur. And I'll be sending out a proof copy to all of our members, but any of you who are visitors who would like a name added to our memorial book this year, you're more than welcome to see me at the oneg.
now? Okay. Good morning, everybody, and again, it is so nice to see so many members here and so many wonderful guests. As for the guests, you're always welcome at any of our services. For those of you who were here last night, I am sure that in your hearts you're hoping that I'm going to give a different speech. Wrong. But I did make some tweaks, okay? As we talked about last night, the meaning of Rosh Hashana is the head of the year, the beginning. So let's make this our best year ever. And we've already started because of this very special and wonderful Rosh Hashanah services that our trio has led. And we have Natalie, who is studying to become a rabbi. We have Rabbi Lynn, and we have Rabbi Scott. So thank you to all three of you for making so far the two services so very beautiful. Now it's our turn to work on making this year special for us, and we can only do that with your help. You received a copy of the survey results. A big thank you to all those who were able to participate. The focus group committee analyzed your responses and harvested a wealth of information that you beautifully expressed of what you would like to see in the future. What our next rabbi should be like, how we can grow, how you feel about Or Hadash, and what you would like to see in the future. Actually, the conclusion that the committee came up with from your responses is, because of how you feel about Or Hadash, if we all work together, and only if we all work together, we can accomplish anything. The sky's the limit. That was the inspiration for the creation of the vision statement for our temple. And that vision statement is actually a statement of where we want to be in the future. I launched it last night, so unfortunately there's not going to be any drum roll. But here it is. Working together to continue providing a warm and welcoming environment so that our community gets its Jewish cultural, educational, spiritual, and social needs met. We can only start moving toward that vision with your help. We can move the needle from where we are now. The vision statement says working together, and it means just that. The survey said you wanted to grow. You said you wanted a preschool and a larger religious school. You said you wanted more adult education. You said you want a rabbi that wants to be here. You said we are like a family. And we are a Reform congregation that knows each other, likes each other, and cares about each other. Because of how we feel about each other, we have much more strength to accomplish things than our size would indicate. Because of who we are, we can accomplish anything, but it can't happen overnight. Nevertheless, I know we can get to where you want to go. We are only limited by those that think that someone else will do it. Around this time, traditionally, many Jews give donations to their temple. And that would be wonderful and greatly appreciated. Because our donations account for 40% of our revenues. We need more than that if we are going to progress. We need your assistance, your help, your sweat. You know, I want to tell you how honored I am to be working with the board that we have now. Each person works very hard toward accomplishing your goals. Your board is beginning to create strategies and plans. They need all of you to participate. With your working alongside the board, we can have a larger religious school, we can grow, we can generate the revenues so that we can have bigger programs, we can have the kind of rabbi we're looking for, we can have more adult education, but only if all of us step up and work together. Find a board member, go up to that board member today, next week, in 2 weeks, and say, I want to be part of this progress. I want to participate. What needs to be done? So, what will you do? How will you contribute so that we can become what you say we want to become? Let's work together to make this year an exceptional one. Thank you.
Sorry, Adrian. Yes, thank you very much, Carol. And now we come to the part of the service that was one of my son's favorite part, the concluding prayers. He said that to me every year. So I'd ask you to please turn to page 287 and please rise for the Elena. And the Elena that we normally sing is the one that's at the top of 287. Service. We'll remember our friends and loved ones who are no longer with us. But I'd like to ask you all to remember them with happiness, to remember the good times that you had with them, and to remember how much of a part of your life is now, of their life, they contributed to yours. I'm on page 289. I am waiting for the great divide to be crossed, and I'm anxiously waiting for the secret of eternal life to be discovered by an obscure general practitioner. And I am waiting for the storms of life to be over. And I am waiting to set sail for happiness. And I am waiting for the lost music to sound again, and the lost continent in a new rebirth of wonder. Please take a few moments to remember those that you love that are no longer with us. And as I said before, remember the happy times. Remember the good times. Our Kaddish prayer is found on page 292, and we pray as a community. Yitgadal v'yitgadal shemei Rabbah, v'yalad v'yibrach v'yutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayom v'yechom u'kayeh v'chol beit Yisrael, v'la'olam v'zman karev v'yiru amen. Yahweh shemei Rabbah v'yirach v'yalach v'lein v'maya. Yibrach v'yishtabach v'yishbachar v'yishraman v'yisnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitzaleh v'yitzalal shemei k'dusha v'yirchu, v'yitzalal shemei k'dusha v'yirchu, le'ela v'le'ela mikol birkata v'shirata, tushakata v'nechamata, ta'amiran v'yamad v'yiru amen. Yahweh shemaya Rabbah v'shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yiru amen. Oseh shalom v'ramah, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol Yisrael v'yiru amen. And may the source of peace bring peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us all say, Amen. And I invite you all to please be seated. I want to remind everyone that we'll be meeting in Prairie Sage Room 1 for an oneg immediately following this morning's services. And then after we eat, we'll meet at the stream that is outside, on that side, to do a very short Tashlich service. To conclude, I would like to read a thought that was written by Rabbi Liz Zeller. She said, "It is hard to always wish for a healthy new year, because not everyone is filled with good and certain health. And it is hard to always wish for a happy and sweet new year. Some years bring difficulty with them, and perhaps more pain than goodness. So throw out the old saying, and instead say what you mean, and what you truly wish. I wish for each of you refreshment, new beginnings, the change to embrace and experience life. You never know who or what is right around the corner for you, waiting to be discovered, unlocked, and found. Hashana Hadashah, may this year and its newness bring about a new sense of wonder and refreshment." And I do wish that for all of you. And then finally, Natalie will lead us in a blessing for the new year found on page 294.
When we get to the English part, please respond to each line with Amen. Hayom, 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 teham seinu. Amen. Strengthen us on this day. Amen. Bless us today. Amen. Lift up our lives on this day. Amen. Grant us goodness today. Amen. Inscribe us for a good life on this day. Amen. Hear our heartfelt words these days. Amen. On this day, receive our prayers with love. Amen. Fortify our best intentions. May we go forth today to do your righteous work. Amen.